So Chris, before we go, I've got a couple of questions for you. One is a very personal one. So I've just given my 12-year-old an iPhone, and over the weekend he was driving me crazy because he was on it and sneaking around the place the whole time. So how can I help him manage it better?
Wow, saving the big guns till last, huh? So,
yeah, I mean, that little one for me.
It's a very, very complicated situation, right? Just to give you a bit of background, we actually worked with 40 schools about 3 years ago. We launched a program with the Minister for Mental Health, Jim Daly. And I think at the time, the biggest thing that we learned was when we were talking to children about their relationship with technology was every single one of them would say, well, I come home from school and I go on my tablet because my dad's on his laptop and my mum's on her phone. So it's...
Don't say it's not them, it's me. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, there's loads of apps we can use out there, right? And there's lots of parental control apps, but I think we are the best parental control app. But in that same sense, I'd like to reassure you that we're pioneers, right? This is very new. We're the first generation of parents who are trying to manage this as far as screen time at home. And the last 2 years, it's become so much harder.
Yeah.
So I'll bring this maybe to a wider context for parents and maybe more general as well. There's a construct called psychological detachment, which is essentially our mental ability to disconnect from work, which we all need, right, at the weekends and in the evenings so that we can have proper ability to recharge. Now, historically, this was relatively straightforward because we went to the office, so our brain had these little ceremonies and rituals. Might sound like a grand word, but that's what they were, right? They created really simple boundaries for us. Whereas over the last 2 years, we've had everything in one place.
Yeah.
And for those people who, have been sharing workspaces around the kitchen table, for them to have psychological detachment is really hard. And it's that idea of maybe bringing back to the iPhone effect, when we're not having work time, let's make sure this isn't just on the counter, it's out of sight, it's switched off. But then have a think about how that impacts our children, because young children aren't aware when we're on a laptop that it's for work, right?
Yeah.
Quite often they'll just be looking and going, well, in my brain that's saying that's a reward mechanism.
It's screen time in their mind.
It's screen time,
so we talk about screen time, PlayStation and TV, they see it as a treat.
Exactly,
it's the same thing.
Yeah. So this isn't something that's necessarily that easy and a quick fix, but one thing we find that does help is even kind of representing the day when you're working by putting work clothes on. Now, I know we're not in the world where we're wearing onesies all the time, but it is, it's having something that represents work, so whether it's a work jacket and saying, okay, mummy's putting work jacket on now, that doesn't mean you're not going to get asked for food or get nagged, but over time, you will also help your own brain to have psychological detachment, putting it on, taking it off, but your children as well. And that's such an important thing because right now, we still have with hybrid work, a lot of people who do have, devices on the table for work, and then at night they're still there, but they might be switched off. It's that whole thing. What little ceremonies can we have around this that recreate what we had when we left the house?
Closing your laptop.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a big thing. Yeah.